Then the next thing I want to look at is the carburetor. Well, I guess I did it. I sprayed this carburetor down because I wanted to see where the gas was leaking from, because I thought it was leaking from here, but it wasn't. So come around here, thought it was leaking from here, and it's a little tiny bit wet there. Okay, fine. I could fix that. I came down here and I was like, well, it's all wet under here for some reason too. Maybe that's just dripping down, but I go ahead and I put a 9/16 here on the main jet. And look at that, it went in like almost a quarter turn. So that was a little loose. And of course, I went ahead and tightened it. And now it's leaking. So, I don't know what I did. I don't know if I broke it. It's a good possibility that I just stripped this out and now it's broken. So I'm going to have to take this apart. And I'm probably going to have to get a new bowl. 1 step forward, 8 steps back. Probably should have left well enough alone. But I guess the good news is I found that I'm not leaking out of my accelerator pump. So, alright, off with the carb. Back to square one. Well, I don't see anything wrong. I thought for sure I stripped something because you know that feeling when you're tightening something down, it gets tighter and tighter, and all of a sudden it gets loose? Well, that's what happened, and then it just started leaking. So I don't see anything wrong. I don't see any broken threads. I don't see broken anything. The bowl seems to be perfectly fine. There's no threads in that, but it's not a total loss. I need to put some thread locker on this because I was leaking out oil. Some gasoline was coming out through here, so that's fine. I can check my bowl height while I have this out. And I also want to go over the butterflies just to make sure they're properly seating. Some of the troubleshooting things I was looking at suggested that the butterfly may not be perfectly seated properly. The choke may not be properly seated, but it looks like it is. So it's just a matter, I guess, of just going over this, baseline it, and put it back on the bike. Maybe put a different seal on this if it's leaking. I don't know. But you know, the accelerator pump works, so everything seems to be fine on that carburetor. But this is good because it also gives me an excuse to use my tool. And I made this a while ago to fit just like so. And you bolt that on, and we'll do a leak down test. Well, not an actual leak down test. I'll use a leak down tester, and that will give me an idea how, if I could pressurize about 5 to 10 pounds. I don't think you need any more than that. More than that probably will open up the valves. As long as, so basically what I'll do is I'll turn the air on and I'll turn the engine over until it gives me pressure. That'll let me know that all the valves are closed. Then sit back and look, just see if it actually leaks down. If it does, well, I'm already into it because I have the carburetor off. And if it is leaking, it's probably going to be leaking from back in here. And that means taking all of that apart and redoing it. I don't have the Permatex, but if you look at one of my older videos, I think I might have actually recorded this in a picture. I don't think I did many videos before, mostly pictures. So I did have a kit that I bought from Ed over at Unique Cycles in New Jersey, northern New Jersey. And after talking to him and a few other people, he suggested this fix, which would be a lot cheaper than taking the heads out and getting them redone again for the second time. The heads were done by Retro Cycle, and they did an awesome job. I mean, perfect, except they didn't do the intake ports. I don't know why. I don't remember if maybe they asked me if they needed to be done, or maybe they didn't think they needed to be done. I don't care. That's, you know, that was a long time ago. So I have no complaints against Rob and all those guys over there. They do fantastic work. So I was also on a budget, so maybe they thought, well, hey, it's not that bad for the budget. Okay, whatever. So we'll work through that now. What was I going to say? So let me get this stuff all set up. I just want to do a pressure test on the intake just to make sure we're not leaking. It's a good time to do it. We get the static timing fixed. I think it will probably dialed in a little better than we were before. My carburetor emergency may not be an emergency, but I do need to check the float level to make sure that that is actually floating properly. And I do have a book on the Bendix. These seals are still relatively new because I just put them in, so I'm not going to worry about those. And who knows, maybe I'll just replace this spring while I have it open, right? I'll have to go dig in my box of carburetor parts and see if I have a newer spring. Because, hey, since it's open, why not? Alright, so I connected this tester and I set the front and rear cylinders so that all the valves are closed. It's a little tough to do on this bike because I have an AB cam, and the AB cam gives a little bit more duration on both the intake and the exhaust. So what you end up with is an incredibly short time where the valves are closed. So trying to find that mark is a little difficult, but anyway, I got my leak down tester here, so I have it set for 10 pounds. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and plug it in, and you'll see it says moderate, but we're not moving. So I think what we'll do is we could sit here and wait. We could turn up the pressure. As the pressure increases, it should try to push those valves open, and we should see it should also, you would think you would get a lot more leakage with higher pressure. So here we're going all the way up. I mean, there, you can actually hear it coming out the exhaust. I don't want to get too high on that. So what I'm going to do here too, while I have that pressure in there, I'm going to go ahead and spray soapy water on the intake. Yeah, that's soapy enough. So we're just going to spray this and see if we get any bubbles. I mean, I don't see any. This should make some nice bubbles. Yeah. I mean, you would see, you know, this is kind of soapy on the Windex here, but you would definitely see bubbles, or you would hear something. So it seems to me this intake is pretty tight. I did actually go buy some starting fluid so that when I do get this thing started, I'm going to do that same test again with starting fluid. If I go ahead and crank this over, you hear that? There you go. That's about where it's closed. It doesn't look bad to me. I mean, these numbers don't really mean much. What I'm testing for is I want to see if that needle is going to move. And it hasn't been moving. So if I pop this out, major leakage, right? Put it back in, it's pressurizing, it gets to a certain pressure, and it stays there. So I don't think we have a problem with leakage on the intake. Now that could be, well, that is on the intake ports. So back to the actual carburetor. The way you're supposed to do this float bowl is with the glass method. So essentially what you do is you put the whole thing back together, and there's supposed to be a drain plug. This one doesn't have a drain plug. So if there was a drain plug, you put it all together, fill it up, and pull the drain plug, put in like I use glass, I guess, which is a tube, and I guess it connects to the bottom, goes around the top. So you can fill it up, and in that glass tube, you can actually see the level of the fuel. And then that's supposed to be 5/8 down from here. That's set in the factory. Most people don't have that. I've never heard of anybody who've had that. I've never heard of anybody adjusting a Bendix that way. When I explain to Copilot, well, hey, all the instructions that I say to turn the bowl upside down like so, and measure this distance here using the 3/16 drill bit. And that should be your correct float height. Obviously, you can see that I'm way off here, so I need to adjust that. That could be part of my fuel issues. My float's too low. I'm not getting fuel. Eureka. Anyway, but Copilot says that's not the right way. You're not supposed to do it that way. Now, you're supposed to use an 1/8 inch, but they say use a 3/16. I guess there's some, even Copilot said that, yeah, it'll get you in the ballpark, but if you want to be exact, you have to use the glass method. I don't have the glass method. People say that ballpark is 1/8 inch, so go 3/16, and you'll actually get closer to what the factory glass should be. It also says not to bend the tab down there, to put in other gaskets. I don't have other gaskets, so I'm going to bend the tab. I'm just going to do it this way and get this to fit perfectly in there. So I'm not going to record that. I got to take all this apart, bend that, put it all back together, do it 50 times until I get this right. But once this is 3/16 distance right there, then my float should be right. Okay, we'll come back when that's set. Okay, so now I have this set. This is 3/16. It's perfect, but you see the problem? I don't know if you can see that, but this side is higher than this side. This is not level. It's kind of bent like so. It needs to be flat. So I need to readjust that and see if I can get that to get perfectly flat. From this direction, it's a little bit more pronounced. You can see the right side here is lower than the left side. That needs to be level and even. So let me readjust. I have this in now with a 3/16 drill bit. See, that fits perfectly there. No movement. I don't know if you can see, it's much flatter. I couldn't get it perfectly, but it's much closer. This is the other bowl that was in there, and it looks like the only way to really bend that is bending this whole body here, and that could be really dangerous. So luckily I had a spare one, and this is the old spring that was with that. This one actually had a new spring on it, so it was probably from a rebuild kit earlier. So I'll go ahead and put this back in. The other thing I noticed was when I was looking at this main jet was a little off center. I took it out. It had like a little teeny bit of a curve in it. I was able to just kind of very easily, push it on here to push it back without kinking it. It seems to be relatively straight now. And so now I just got to put everything back together. The float is right where it should be. Now, if you noticed before, it was like way up here, so that's a problem. This should allow us to get more gasoline now into the bowl. That may have something to do with the hard start problem. So I also looked at the spring that I had, the extra spring, but it was old, so this is actually a new spring. I'm going to leave it as it is. I mean, it seems pretty tight. I couldn't see any problems as far as the butterflies, and looking to see if maybe it wasn't sealing properly. You could just kind of looking around it, like there's the same amount of light all the way around, so I just pretty much centered. So I'm going to go with that and put all this back together and put it back on the bike. And I do have to find another seal, because this seal I think is no good. I'll have to look in my box of gaskets. I have another one in here. So I have gaskets everywhere. I found something. I rebuilt this again. Well, I didn't rebuild it. I fixed the bowl, and I went back with the same seal. I think what happened is it crushed down and then allowed me to turn some more. This time I put it in there. It's sealed down there tight. It's pretty good. I'm hoping it's not going to leak. Maybe I'll put some gas in it just to make sure. The other thing is, of course, putting some tape on that so it doesn't leak. Everything's back together now. One thing I did is I took this butterfly out, and I don't know if you can't see this on the camera, I don't think, but these are beveled, right? So they're beveled kind of like here and here, so that when this is on an angle, right, it's going to seal. Now, what was happening, I have this turned out an inch, about, I think it's supposed to be a quarter turn. Well, in any case, it looked like this was not perfectly sealing. And so when you have the throttle completely in there, you hold it up to the light, you're really not supposed to see a whole lot in there. Just make sure you have all the same light around it. And then once you seat it here, all right, so here's how you adjust the throttle. You turn this down until it touches, and then you go a quarter turn, right? And then that way, when you're looking at it in the light, you see a little bit of light in the bottom there. That's what it should be doing, and it was a lot more light previously. So I'm hoping that that's going to fix that issue. I also looked into what these holes are. They just look like casting holes. It's weird because there is a gasket provided, but it doesn't seem to be relevant to this, so I'm going to ignore it. Everything else seems to be fine, so I'm going to put this back on the bike and we'll give it another try. I got that float adjusted properly now, so hopefully, if that was all it was, then we should be good to go. So I'm going to put this on the bike. Let's see if that's all I need to do to get it outside. I'll try starting it. All right, so it turns out I broke the bowl. I don't know if you can see this. There's a crack. It goes right across there. If it didn't have that there, who knows? Maybe I could weld that. Looks like it's going right along the edge there. So I'm gonna see maybe if I can buy this bowl. This looks like it has a part number on it. The only difference here that I noticed was it looks like the accelerator pump nipple is a little bit taller. Otherwise it fit fine. So just checking here. Make sure we have some squirt. Yeah, we have some squirt. Yeah, I mean, it's not as nice as I would like it to be. So the problem is this is not gonna, I can't take this out. It's not gonna fit in this. So I think I need to do is find this bowl with the correct squirter, but this may be enough to just get me running. Let's just see what happens. So let me put this back together. I'll put the air cleaner on, and I got everything all buttoned up back together. The timing is right. The static timing is perfect. I get this set to 1 1/4, this to 3 1/2, this to 1/4 after throttle closed. Fully rebuilt. Everything's back together. And with any luck, that fixed my problem. So I'm about 50-50 on that right now. That's how confident I am. And I see I'm having this problem here, it looks like. I don't know. There's just one thing after another, it looks like. Okay. Stand by. So I'm going to try starting this now. I went ahead and pulled the spark plugs. I probably flooded the engine in there, twisting the throttle and everything inside. So I pulled the plugs, kicked it through several times to clean out the cylinders. So I'm going to jump on it. I want to turn it on. I'm going to put it on half choke, 3/4 advance and give it a kick and see what happens without even priming it. Won't even bark. Well, it didn't work out as I would hoped it would. I'm not sure at this point what I'm going to do. I don't know if the carburetor is just shot. The timing issue I thought would improve it. It didn't really do anything. Maybe it made it worse. The bottom line is, even after all that work I did on Sunday, I'm worse off than when I started. So, good news is, though, no more gas pulling down here. So I think, at least we're not leaking anymore. So the old bowl went on there okay and it fit. And so I don't know. I need to regroup. I need to consider, what I want to do here. There's no reason why that carburetor should not be working. Everything about it, other than, the cracked bowl, which, like the bowl that I have on here now should be fine. Yeah, I'd rather see a little bit better stream from the accelerator pump. So I will go ahead and replace that bowl anyway. But at this point, I'm almost thinking about just trying a different carburetor. Maybe like a Klein or a CV. I don't know. I don't even know what's available. My son has that S&S Super E sitting over there. And, who knows? Maybe I can bolt that on there. I don't know if it'll fit on the intake. So otherwise, I'm happy with the work I did. It just didn't turn out, give me the results I was looking for. But I'm dialing in. I'm getting closer. I don't think that it's unsolvable. I'm sure somebody has some suggestions out there. One of the things I want to look into doing too is maybe getting a whole new cable for the throttle. Although I think this issue is solved though, so when it comes back it does close all the way. And that wasn't solved so much by the dry lube. I had to essentially attach the throttle cable a little bit lower. This gives it so that when it pushes it further. What that ends up with is a little bit more free play in the hand, which, I'm used to driving it that way. I'm sorry, I'm used to riding it that way. I know somebody's going to say something. So I'm not too concerned about it. Thanks for watching. I don't know where I'm going to go with this next. What I might end up doing is working on this old shovel head softail project again, where, whoops, that just came on. Let's shut that off. So I bought a new set of risers that are about yay high, and they're separate clamps. This clamp has a crack in it, but I'm not going to get too far into this now, but just say this is probably what I'm going to put up on the bench next while I'm waiting for parts for the old Panhead. And then of course I have that Sprint that my uncle gave me, and I have the engine apart. I need to get back to work on that again soon, but I really want to get these two bikes ready to go so that my son and I can go ride this summer. We're in March, still got some time, but this is a project. These are project bikes. They're not, somebody watching this going, hey, why don't you just go buy a new bike? I have a Road King. I have a 2010 Road King. It starts up every time. It drives perfectly, no issues. That's not fun. This is fun. So, anywho, thanks again, and happy Easter, if I don't post a video by then. But hopefully by then, at least, I'll have a little bit more idea of how to make this better. Take care.